Just a quick cut in before the video starts. It's not the best one, especially because, like I said in my update video, there's not a readily available editing software that I'm familiar with, and the one that I'm using now was not very good at all. Um, so there's rough edits in there. There's probably some background noise that you can hear. And I just want to say before the video even starts that I'm sorry about all of that, but hopefully I can get something together and make the future video, the Last of Us video and the Pokemon video, a bit better than this one. But if you can, please enjoy and let me know what you think about the PS5 Future of Gaming presentation in the comments below.
Hello, everyone. If you're watching this right now, it's most likely on YouTube, aka the worst way possible. If you'd like to know why in a not so short video, it is on the channel as a channel update. For now, I'd like to just say apologies for any background noise. Can probably hear me clicking buttons and stuff. But we are here to talk about the PS5, bringing you opinions you didn't ask for on things you've already heard of, in the worst way possible. This is content you can only get at youtube.com/ not JaangoPops because I can't make a custom URL yet. But anyways, I'm gonna be playing some Spider-Man, trying to play some Spider-Man while I talk about the PS5 event. I'll be talking about the stuff that I remember, and every now and then I'll have to look back at the article to talk about everything in full detail. But until then, I'll just talk about the few things that I definitely remember because they're like, the big staple things. So let's try and go in order, and then when I get to the stuff that I don't remember very well, I'll go ahead and whoops. I'll go ahead and look back at the article. Okay. So first things first. Grand Theft Auto 5 for the PS5. What? I don't understand why that was an announcement that they made, but it sure was. If you can't tell, I'm not very good at this game. It's been months since I played it, and I'm going back to it for the DLC, so I have to regain my bearings. But yeah, they basically said that, almost said Saints Row, GTA 5 is going to be on the PS5. It'll be enhanced. I don't know exactly what that means. It doesn't really make it clear what that means. But it will, at the very least, be upgraded in some facet. And it'll be, I think they said something about GTA 5 Online. It'll be free for certain people. Like if you think I was just on the PS5, I mean the PS5, the GTA 5 thing. Hopefully I can edit this part. So slight, very jarring cut right there. Sorry about that, but basically, GTA 5 on the PS5, cool. While we're on the topic of this game, Miles Morales got announced, and there was a lot of confusion because people were uncertain if it was an expansion, if it was a sequel, a lot of stuff, right? I think what came out from Insomniac is that it's similar to, if you're familiar with the Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. So it'll be a standalone game, but it'll essentially be like an expansion to this game right here, Spider-Man PS4. And the sequel is not like specified, at least not right now. But from what they showed, it looked good. Looked pretty much the same as like the regular game, as this game, but a little bit of an update in the graphics, and this is very hard to play while doing this. A little bit of an update in the graphics. I'm probably just gonna web sling for now, because I cannot play this at the same time. But there's an update in the graphics, and obviously Miles Morales is going to be the star of the game. I don't think they've said anything new about it other than specifying that it is a standalone expansion in the same way that Lost Legacy was for Uncharted. I think 4 it was. So that'll be interesting, but it does make me wonder what their plans are, if any, for a proper sequel to the game. If it were to happen, it would probably happen on the PS5. Like maybe if I were to make a guess, 2020. Definitely not launch. I know Miles Morales is going to be a launch title, but that's pretty simply because it's like in the same engine and everything. So it makes sense for them to put it on as soon as possible because they don't have to do too much work in it. And I'm sure since 2018, that's when this game came out, right? They've probably been working on it in their own way. Um, so it's been, for the most part, developed in the same way. Let's see. Now is the part where I have to start looking at the article because I don't remember the order in which the games were revealed, but I know that there's certain games that I'm gonna miss or skip over. Um, Gran Turismo 7 is a racing sim. This is just me personally, not very interested in racing sims, but it does look good. Um, it looks good. It looks like it could be fun, but that's not personally my thing. Excuse me. So I'm not gonna really go too in depth with it. Now I think we're just gonna go completely off track, and I'm gonna say all the games that I can remember before having to look back at the article again. So we're not going in chronological order anymore. Um, Ratchet and Clank, which was kind of a surprise for me. I think there was some like leak about it, but I was honestly unaware during the conference that there was like any discussion of it or any possibility of it happening. So for me, it was nice to see. Um, Not a huge fan. Like I know some people, Ratchet and Clank is like their thing. Like it's one of their childhood games. It's not the exact same with me. I'm a fan of the games, but not as much of one. Um, but it looks pretty good, and I think it's sort of a tech demo y sort of game in the way that Knack was, where you're just like basically showing off what the hardware can do. And like the reason I say that at least is because of the SSD is a big thing that they're focusing on with this console, right? They're focused on the fact that the SSD will like make loading times seamless or like even get rid of loading times for certain things. So I think what they're doing with that one is when Ratchet like uses the portals to warp to different areas or like warp up or to the side or whatever. They're using that to show like, hey, you can go from one place to another instantly. There's no loading, there's no like stuttering. It's smooth. Um and it did look good. It was very very visually impressive, and I think that's a launch title. I'm actually not sure. I don't see a release date in this article that I'm reading right now, and I don't remember there being one. Again, not going in chronological order because I'm just going off of what I remember at this point. The game that I was personally very interested in, not only for its visual style, but also for the way that like um yeah, no, I gotta stop. I gotta stop fighting. I gotta stop fighting. All right, I can't talk and fight at the same time. At least not with stuff like this. Uh, Kenna, what was it called? Forest of Spirits, something like that. This indie game from a studio that I can't remember the name of. Here, let me see if the article has its name. But Kenna is a very interesting looking game to me, at least for the visual style. But not only that, it's also the gameplay of it. It looks sort of like an open world game, sort of like Horizon, sort of like Breath of the Wild, if you will. But I think the thing that draws me to it the most is the visual style, and I like it a lot. It sort of looks like I've heard a lot of people say it's like a kind of like Pixar movies, and it's like I agree, but I don't know. I don't know. I feel like that's it's weird to say that because it's like I don't think Pixar came up with that aesthetic, but I can agree that it sort of looks similar to the way that some Pixar movies do, and I actually really like it. From the bit of gameplay that they showed, it looks pretty like action based. There's two methods that at least they showed off of combat. You have your close range combat with the staff and long range combat with the bow. And it looked pretty cool. And there was sort of like a Pikmin element to it too, if you will. These like little creatures that are in the forest. Forgot exactly what they're called, but you seem to use them in combat. Like if I'm not mistaken, there was at one point a a fight where you like send the little creatures after an enemy. They get onto it, and when you shoot the creatures or shoot like the energy arrows from the bow at the creatures, it like bounced off onto the other enemies, and that was definitely cool. But it wasn't super in-depth descriptive with what exactly happens with that. But it looked nice. It looked very nice. Um, what else was there? What else was there? Again, kind of just going to the things that I remember off the top of my head. So I'll be looking back at the article soon. I think the other big thing, the thing that they ended it with, was Horizon. What is it called? It's not Horizon 2. Horizon Forbidden West looks good. Looks like a bit of an upgraded version from Horizon Zero Dawn. There wasn't much gameplay, if any at all, but I think all this stuff was in engine. So again, looks really really good. It's going to be a continuation, I think, from the DLC. I didn't play it, nor have I seen it played, so I don't actually know what happens in the DLC. But it'll be a continuation, obviously, of the story from Horizon Zero Dawn, starring the same character, all that stuff. Except there's this time around, I think there's something happening to the planet in particular. What exactly isn't specified, but we'll probably get more information on that soon enough. What else was there? There was Tokyo. Ghost. Is it Ghostwire Tokyo? Hold on, let me look back at the article. See how it's yeah, Ghostwire Tokyo. Um, that was a horror game that was teased, if I'm not mistaken, at E3 either last year or 2 years ago, and maybe the Game Awards. If it was at the Game Awards, it was definitely last year. But if it was at E3, it was either a year or two ago. Can't remember exactly when. But it's different from what a lot of people are expecting. A lot of people, I think, were expecting like sort of a, it's hard to use any game to describe it, but like a traditional horror game where it's just like you maybe trying to like uncover some mystery of like these horror-esque monsters and stuff like that, but it actually looks to be like a bit more of a horror action game. Like you you have these powers, sort of like you almost look like you do Naruto hand signs in order to attack enemies. The enemies all have, at least from what I've seen, pretty interesting designs. Like it's very much a horror, like at the very least horror style game, maybe not in the traditional like you're walking around to uncover a mystery. Even though it's a bit more action oriented, it still definitely has like horror elements with the environment and the enemy design. But oh, hello. Um, there was also like a bit of a techno sort of feel to it. Like it seemed futuristic, so maybe that like makes some sort of appearance in the story. Maybe not, but I think the biggest thing that they wanted to show off, not only when it comes down to the gameplay and the environment, but also just the fact that it's going to be instead of a traditional horror game like a lot of people I think were expecting, a bit more sort of not action adventure, but just a action game with horror elements, which I'm personally not disappointed with at all. It looks pretty cool. And like I said, especially the enemy designs with like there was I think like a little like a kid that was sort of like a demon in like a raincoat. There was like this Japanese like schoolgirl, but her head was like a monster thing. Like it was. They have some cool designs, some cool enemy designs from what they showed off in that trailer. So it's something to look forward to. Let's talk about Stray because there's pretty much nothing to say about that except um, it's a game where you seemingly play as a cat who is in like a post-apocalyptic like robot world. It's hard to describe it, but it looks all right from what they showed off. It's not really anything gameplay oriented, but I will admit I am very excited to play as a cat in the robot takeover apocalypse. Next game, Project Athia, I think is a yeah, it's a Square Enix game. I don't know if it's developed by Square Enix or published by them, but it's a game under Square Enix involving Square Enix, right? And it looks cool, but something that was actually brought to my attention after the conference was like it's a project, at least that's what it seems to be, and the release date is I think like 2022. So there's not much there's not much of a reason to be hyped for this game, other than the fact that the traversal kind of looked like the if you saw it, the stuff that we saw in the was it the Unreal Engine 5 demo, I think. It was sort of similar to that with the way that you were traversing. Um, they didn't show too much gameplay from what I can recall. It was just like you going up against some sort of monsters. But yeah, it looks interesting, but there's not too much to go off of yet, especially because it's, at least at this point, still a project, and it's not coming out for 2 years. So not much to say for that one, at least at the moment. Sorry for the pause. I'm gonna have to look through the article one more time. Demon Souls remake looks really good. Um, Demon Souls, if I'm not mistaken, is like the origin of the Dark Souls series or the Dark Souls S games from Software. Um, and that'll be getting a complete remake from Blue Point Game, who's actually the same people that did the Shadow of the Colossus remake, which was very good. So high hopes for that one. Could talk about Resident Evil 8 next, I suppose. So Resident Evil 8, uh, also called Resident Evil Village. It's it's kind of hard to tell exactly what it is, but the one thing I can say is that it it's weird. It almost doesn't seem like Resident Evil, but it certainly is. And at the end of the trailer that they showed off, Chris was there, and Ethan from Resident Evil 7 is going to be involved in this story. I think he's the character you play as, even. So it'll be something a bit more different, uh, seemingly like a more, I don't really know what genre to call it, but like it obviously it's no duh, considering the name takes place in a village, but the village seems to be a bit more like involving mystical stuff. Like I remember there was a witch or someone that looked like a witch at some point in the trailer. At the very end, before the name reveal, there is a like werewolf looking thing. It's odd. Which is why I say at first I really didn't think it was Resident Evil. But it does look good. It looks like pretty much all of the Resident Evil, what's it called? The RE engine, excuse me, RE engine games. Um, Probably have a bit of a graphical update, but other than that, there's not too much to go off of just yet. For this one, I think there was a developer video from Capcom. I, however, have not watched it, so I'm not sure exactly what was said. More about Village in that video. So if there's anything that I'm missing, my apologies. But I'm just going off of in the what was in the what's called the State of Play, the Future of Gaming conference. So not too much to go off of. It looks good, but it is sort of uh just what they showed off for the moment, if that makes sense. Like there's not too much to go off of, except for the release date, which is supposed to be 2021. But if I'm not mistaken, there was like a website that said uh 2021 tentatively. So it means like they're not 2021. Wait, I don't remember if it was 2020 or 2021. Let me check the article really quickly. Sorry. Yeah, 2021. But if I'm not mistaken, there was an article or something that reported on it saying 2021 tentatively, which means that they're basically just broadly aiming for 2021. Not that like the game is actually done and will be out at that point. So it could be 2021, it could be 2022. We're not too sure, but should expect Resident Evil Village or Resident Evil 8 in the next few years. Let's see what else. I think this is the first look of gameplay at Godfall. I could be wrong. There might have been some beforehand. But this is obviously like a bit more of an in-depth gameplay look at it that they did in this press conference. Godfall, if you're unaware, will be a PS5 launch title made. Actually, I don't think it's by Lootbox. I think not Lootbox. What is their name? That's the Lootbox. God, what is their name? The people that did Borderlands. Gearbox. Sorry. I don't think it's made by Gearbox. Apologies if you hear any background noise, by the way. I don't think it's made by Gearbox. I think it's published by them, but it's a looter slasher, they're calling it, in the same vein of Borderlands, which is actually developed by Gearbox, which is a looter shooter. And there's a bit of an issue that I have with this game and kind of all future games for the PS5. Looks very good visually. It's pretty nice looking. It's hard to tell exactly what the gameplay is like, but it does look fun. It looks like one of those games where like it's very action oriented, but there's not too much depth to it, at least from what they showed off. So it looks like a game that could be very, very fun. But if the gameplay doesn't switch up on its own, then it might become stale. But all in all, I was honestly pretty impressed with the game. My only problem with it, and this is a problem that, like I said, I think I'm going to have with hopefully not, but maybe a lot of the PS5 games, is the frame rate was very, very obviously dipping during it. Like, not anything insane for me, especially because I'm a bit more used to console. And if you're used to console, you might not even really be able to tell. But like, it was very obvious to me that it was like dipping at certain points, and it wasn't like at the same time there were points in the trailer where I think they like synced the video up with the music. I'm not even gonna comment on the music other than I wasn't a fan of it. But I think there were times where they tried to have it like sync up with the music, but there were also very obviously times where it was just like dropping frames naturally, which I hope isn't a thing because, at least in my opinion, when we're this far in the generation, or this far in technology in general, and we're on, what is this, the ninth generation, 10th generation? I really think that like solid frame rate should be a thing. A lot of these companies, mainly Sony and Microsoft, are really touting the idea of 4K, and to me that's all well and dandy, but resolution doesn't impact gameplay. Like, you will you will very, very clearly have a different gameplay experience if you are experiencing a game at fluctuating low frame rates than you will if you are experiencing a game at like 480p instead of 1080 or 1080 instead of 4K. So I don't want this like insane focus on resolution, on having 4K gaming, because it really doesn't matter for consoles. Like you could have been doing 4K gaming for like years. I'm pretty sure on PCs, and it's like it's just not that impressive to me. The thing that I would much prefer is that the frame rate is solid, and if not always 60, at the very least high, like at all times. Um, and that was also a concern that I had with Resident Evil 8 because there was a little bit of a dip in frame rate there too. And the dip in frame rate, at least in my opinion, with Resident Evil 8 was much more noticeable, especially when you watch the individual trailer. It's like they don't even try to hide it. Like it dips in quality. Um, Hopefully that's not a consistent thing with any games on the platform, but Godfall and Resident Evil 8 especially, because those games I think will be pretty visually impressive. So having the stark contrast of a beautiful high resolution game with a fluctuating or just straight terrible frame rate would be really, really annoying. At least for me. Um Pragmata or Pragma, I don't know how to say it, is hitting me with some Hideo Kojima ass vibes because this game is just straight up cryptic. Like there's almost nothing I can infer from the game except for spaceman that's not in space, he on Earth though. Um like robot girl that can I don't even know what she did. Something with her eyes. RoboCat, very important, gonna be crucial to the story. I think he's the villain. RoboCat and space black holes that like I don't, very confusing, very cryptic, very probably gonna have some like artistic vision in the same way that Death Stranding did, which is why I said it was giving me Hideo Kojima vibes because there is nothing that can be properly deciphered from what they showed off, but it does look interesting. And from the individual trailer that they released, it does look very, very good. Um, I think it was even in 4K, but again, like I said, the 4K is nice. It's all dandy, but I'd much rather priority on frame rate. But that doesn't involve Pragmata. Um, it's a bit of a confusing game, but it looks good. And I'm looking forward to it. I think it comes out in 2022. Yeah, 2022. All right, going back to the article. One second. Sackboy: A Big Adventure. So, Sackboy, if you are familiar with him from the critically acclaimed, at least I don't think they're, I don't know if they're critically acclaimed, but I know people love them. Little Big Planet games. A lot of people were thinking it was going to be Big Planet, Little Big Planet 4, and I was one of them, but it actually turned out to be something entirely new, using Sackboy. So it kind of looks like a bit of an action platformer that has like a co-op thing. So it's similar to how Little Big Planet was, except this time around you most likely won't be um, making levels and playing made levels. You'll most likely just be playing set levels, but it looks like it could be fun. There's a, like I said, there's a co-op aspect to it, so I think it's up to 4 players. Um, and it's going to be obviously different from Little Big Planet in that sense, where you are playing made levels as opposed to making levels and playing levels that are made for you by people who also bought the game. At least that's the way it seems. If it's a Little Big Planet 4 and you can actually make your own stuff, that would be interesting. But from the looks of it, it's a bit more in depth. So I think if you were going to have it be a thing where people can make their own level, it might be complicated. but we'll have to see on that. But it looked good. It looked pretty fun. It's hard to compare it to any other game to like make it a bit more easy to talk about. But yeah, it looked interesting. Let's see. So I think I talked about everything in this article, but I know for a fact that I'm missing a couple of games. So while I look for another article, let me go ahead and talk about the PS5 itself. Let's get into the controversial part, which is the PS5's design. Let me say this up front. That shit looks weird. The PS5 looks weird. Like it looks like they're trying very hard to go with this future aesthetic. Like, you know, they got the sleek white console. It's got the corners and it's got the curves and like the underlights on the inside, and you got the black in between, which is like the actual console itself. It's got the disk drive. It's got the USB port. Blah 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 blah. Right? It's very like, excuse me. It's trying very hard to be futuristic and like it looks weird. However, I like the design, and simply put, I think it's better to have something that is straight up without like any um any like attempt to hide it or be subtle. Just trying extremely hard to be futuristic and different is better than just releasing, I would personally say. Like the Xbox Series X is quite literally just like a mini ATX PC tower. Like it looks like a PC tower. And that's not a bad thing at all. It's a simple design, and I don't mind that. But it's very very simple. Even the PS4 and the Xbox One, I would say, are pretty simple designs. They're not like anything different. They're basically just two boxes with some minor differences. Like if you put a all black PS4 and an all black Xbox One next to each other, you can tell the difference when you like look at the logo and the like details of the consoles themselves. But looking at them from afar, they're just two black boxes. So I think it is a lot nicer that they're going for something more unique instead of just the typical monocolored black box or monocolored even white box, whatever it may be. I think it's nicer that they're trying to switch it up, even though admittedly it does look weird as hell. I'm not I'm not too I don't hate it. It's not nearly as controversial for me as the controller was, because let me tell you, I thought that that controller looked fucking weird when I first saw it. It's kind of grown on me, but still think it looks weird. I have much more of a open mind, heart, I don't know, soul, all those things. Hell yeah. To the console than I do the controller. Sorry about the pause looking through the article here. Oh man, NBA 2K21 confirmed for the PS5. Let's talk about that. All right, next game. Bug Snacks, some weird ass indie game from the makers of Octodad. I don't I don't know what was being like thought up when that was made. It just it looks weird as hell. It looks, I think it kind of looks like like action platformer. I don't remember it entirely. All I know is that you're some animals and you eat food and the food becomes your limbs. And if I'm just gonna go ahead and say that we're staying as far away as possible from that one. Next game, Jet the Far Shore. 1 second, I need a sip of water. All right. Jet the Far Shore. Don't remember too much about this game except that it kind of looks like No Man's Sky. Like a 2D indie No Man's Sky, and I mean that in a good way, not the No Man's Sky way, because No Man's Sky is garbage. Or at least it was at launch. Apparently, it got better. We're not even going to get into that. I don't care. Um, but it looks like, space exploration thing. 2D, not 2D, but like maybe top down. I don't remember exactly how it looked, but it looked like a space indie game. Wasn't exactly clear what it was, but you're like flying around in a spaceship from what they showed off, and I don't remember when it's coming out. But yeah, that's basically all I've got for Jet the Far Shore. I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't pay too much attention to it, and there wasn't really that much shown off to begin with. Destruction All Stars. Let me see if I can find the release date for this. Sorry for any background noise again. Um, Destruction All Stars. So that's like a demolition derby type of game. But it looks a bit different in the sense that it seems to be at least team based, and there's some aspect where you like get out of the cars in order to or you can get out of the cars in order to fight. The cars have like special abilities where they can, like, I remember the one dude put up his shield and like knock the car out of the way. We're just gonna go ahead and look at some pretty pictures for the rest of this because it's harder to play the game while doing this. My apologies for all the difficulties. Again, this is a impromptu video, an impromptu solution to my problem of not being able to record videos right now. But anyways, Destruction All Stars is supposed to be like a demolition derby type of game. You're in a car, and the car has special abilities, but also you can get out of the car and do what seems like in-person combat. So that'll be interesting to see if that goes anywhere. It might be like a sort of a team-based, like Overwatch sort of game. Hard to tell exactly what it is, but yeah, it looked pretty interesting. And there's no release date for it. I was looking in the article, sorry. But there's no release date for that one. Let's see. Oh, Returnal. That's another game that I was thinking about. So it seems like Returnal is a sort of like a death loop game, where you're playing as a woman who's voyaging through space, lands on a planet, and like is reliving her death. It's hard to describe exactly what it is, but it was a shooter, right? Yeah, it was a shooter. Third person shooter where you're like in space, you're going against these space enemies like that look weird, and I guess the idea is similar to another game they showed off. Aha, I remembered one on my own. Called Deathloop, where you're essentially dying and maybe restarting. Maybe that's a gameplay thing, maybe that's just the story, who knows? But yeah, it's gonna be a third person shooter that takes place on this alien planet where you've crash landed and you're seemingly repeating the events of your crash landing. So that'll be interesting. Let's talk about Deathloop now since I remembered it from talking about this game. Deathloop is a game that was shown off, at I think at E3 last year too. I think it's Bethesda, at least publishing it, if I'm not mistaken. And the basic idea is that it's oh no, it's from the team, if I'm not mistaken, that did Dishonored, because it has like similar combat with the stealth and everything. I think it's a from them. I know Bethesda's involved in it. I don't know if Bethesda's a developer or not. But anyways, um, Deathloop is a first-person shooter where you are an assassin going after 8 specific targets, but one of the targets, or maybe even all of the targets, have someone that's protecting them, and both of you are sort of in this like infinite death loop where um I think the main character has to get rid of all the targets before midnight in order to end his loop, and there's a person that's trying to stop him who's also in a loop. I don't know how she ends hers, but anyways,
The game seems pretty interesting. It looks weird, like from the E3 demo that I remember at least. It didn't seem to have the same graphical style. Maybe it was a change mid development, who knows? But I think the an interesting part about that one is the ending showed the person who you're going against, the female assassin that's going after you as the main character. Seems like she can also be controlled by a actual human being. So it'll be sort of. I'm trying to think of a game that did this because I know that there was one, but it's not there may be probably optional co-op where you can drop in as the female character as like the I don't know if she's a bodyguard or like some other assassin that's just going after you specifically. Hard to tell, but there's supposed to be seemingly a multiplayer aspect where an actual human being is going to be controlling her while you or maybe another person that you're going against, if you're controlling her yourself, you as the assassin, the main character, will be uh going to assassinate the targets that you're already after. Um, I'm really trying to think if there's any other game that I'm missing because I feel like I'm missing something. Um, I talked about the PS5 already, so I guess I could go with the I guess pricing. I won't talk about the release date because the release date is confirmed to be 2020. Um, holiday of 2020. When is not exactly made clear. I'm gonna go ahead if we're gonna just throw a guess out there. I'm gonna go ahead and say November because I think a lot of their consoles have come out in November. But again, that's a very small detail. Um, and I guess I could talk about the price too. Just going over the games to make sure there's nothing that I missed. I think about a year ago, I said they had revealed some stuff about the PS5. Nothing as in depth as this conference was, but they had revealed some stuff about the PS5, saying that it was basically just giving us the whole rundown of like the SSD, blah 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 blah. Right. This is around the time where all that dev kit stuff happened too. So this was at the very like beginning stages of the information that we were getting out. I think at that time I said 500 would probably be the price point. That was my little guesstimation of what was going to be what the price was going to be. Um, and I'm still leaning towards that, but I'm not sure because there's been a lot of talking when it comes to the price of this game and the price of the Xbox Series X. There have been like pre-orders where the PlayStation was available for like I think 700 $800, which is like 110% bogus. Like that's there's no way that they're going to make a console that expensive. But at the same time, I don't think they're about to like cheap out and take huge losses making the console like $300, right? So I think the sweet spot, I feel like, at least um in the current day, at least for consoles, is around 500, and I believe that's what I said in that video about a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago at this point, when I was talking about what I thought the price would be. Now I still kind of feel the same, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was higher. Especially because at the end of the conference there was a reveal of a digital edition. So if you're familiar with the Xbox, I don't want to say S. Is it the S? I don't remember. There is a all digital version of the Xbox One. I remember that at the very least. And that was a console that was substantially cheaper but didn't have any optical drive, so there were no availability to use discs or whatever in it. And PlayStation is going to be doing essentially the same thing as that. with their digital edition, but they haven't revealed a price. If I were to make a guess, I would say the price is probably going to differ for the two of them, but it's hard for me to say which one is going to be cheaper and which one's going to be more expensive. The obvious answer is that um, the digital edition will be cheaper. But the thing that you have to remember is that they're using a SSD which doesn't have a full terabyte as is. So the SSD is going to be like, if I'm not mistaken, 800 gigs or something like that. The SSD isn't going to have a large capacity in the base PS5. So I think if they're going to do a digital edition, they have to at least bump it up to a terabyte. I know that um, they're going to have some sort of thing where you can like use external hard drives or whatever to um, expand your storage, but I feel like if you're going to do a digital version of the PS5, it has to be as it comes. It has to have a bigger hard drive using the SSD than the base one does, than the disc one does. So it's honestly harder for me to tell for this console which is going to be more expensive because I feel like the thing that makes sense is, well, no disk drive, so obviously the digital edition should be cheaper. But at the same time, at least for me personally, I feel like the digital edition needs to have larger storage. So even if they knock the price down for the optical drive, they probably have to bump it up for the storage. So I'm not sure. If I were to give an honest guess, um, I have a feeling it'll be around 500. Maybe I don't. I don't. I still don't want to stretch it and say 600, but it's definitely a possibility. We'll go ahead and take the sweet spot of 550. Don't know how accurate that is, but let's just say 550, right? Um, any website that's like has it for 700, $800, 100% false. Um, I cannot foresee that happening at all. But I know for some of them it's like placeholder prices, like the same way you have placeholder dates. But there's no way that that's going to be like even close to what it is, right? So I think I think the physical edition or the regular edition, excuse me, standard edition will be 550, and I want to say that the digital edition will be like 450 or 500, right? But I still don't know how they're going to do the prices, especially because of how I don't know how they're going to do the storage either. Um, but yeah, that's my little guess on what the price is. I decided to bump it up a little bit from what my original was one a year ago. Just like I'm not exactly sure what influenced it exactly, but probably a reveal of the hardware is like I'm not really, especially the fact that there's two editions. I'm not really sure exactly what the price is going to be, but I'm going to bump it up from 500 to 550 just to be safe. I don't have any exactly solid rhyme or reason to say that um that it'll be more expensive, but we'll go ahead and say that it'll be a little bit more expensive than what I was thinking. Hopefully, I'm still hoping for 500 in the same way that in that video I was hoping for 2020 release, which we will be getting. I was hoping for 500, and I still think that 500 makes the most sense. So we'll stick with 500 for now. Um, if I missed any games, I apologize because again, this is not the way that I wanted to make this video. But I think that's gonna be the end of it. So hopefully there's more stuff to talk about soon, and hopefully I have a better method of being able to talk about it other than recording a video through Twitch because this is not the way I want to do stuff. But if you have watched all the way through, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening on my opinions of the PS5 Future of Gaming event, even though that thing happened like what 2 weeks ago. I don't know. Anyways, yeah. think that's going to be the end of it for this one. This video is probably going to be the second upload, and there should be at least one more, maybe two more, coming today. So be on the lookout for those. And hopefully we'll be back to regular stuff soon with it when it comes to videos. If not, you can always catch me live at twitch.tv/Django_pops. We'll be getting much better content than this. But I think that's going to be the end of it for this one. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.